Alright, so a lot of people wanted me to cover this with the recent release of the FGO 8th anniversary. FAMITSU, who is a video game publication, they've been around for nearly 40 years. They just did a collab giving FGO their very own edition. As a matter of fact, if you've seen it, they did over 30 pages. Ton of stuff to go through. We're gonna start things off with the polls. They did run the polls with JP only. They did around 9,000 people, and of those 9,000, it tells us that 46% of players are in their 20s, 24% are in their 30s, around 10% is 19 and below, and 6% are in their 40s. And then there's like one guy in his 50s. I don't know who that is, but power to that man for keeping the hope alive. And then the rest of the people, of course, they didn't even provide their age. When it comes to master levels, which is the actual level of your character in the game, how far you've gotten, 7% is under 120. You guys got some catching up to do. 14% is 121 to 140. 24%, and this is the biggest range, is 141 to 150. And then there's a 21% that's even higher than that. They're 150 to 159. And then you have the tryhards, people that have reached 160 is 22%, which is quite a lot. That's at least 1/5. And then 10% is 161 and higher, which is the highest ranks that you can reach, and that only makes up 1/10 of everybody playing, at least going by what they're saying. Me personally, I'm at 139. I will admit that I've been slacking as of the past few years because I've been grinding so hard on the channel. If I just kept playing, I'd probably be maxed out, but that's not too terrible, especially considering that I'm one level off the biggest pool that there is. For the gender, you have 45% going in as male, and for the female, you actually have 54% over the male. So Gudako is actually beating out Ritsuka, but this really isn't accurate considering that a lot of the men on here are just masquerading as females. I can't count the amount of times I'll go to a video and it'll be a dude playing as Gudako. I'm like, what is going on? But hey man, you do what you want to. And now we're gonna get into the juicier part, some of the main questions. First one is, when did you first start playing the game? We got 12% with the pre-registration. Again, this is JP, so this takes it all the way back to when they first announced it. And you know, funny enough, I gotta tip my hat to anybody that started on JP and is still playing JP. I mean, like the first string of players, because you gotta think the amount of effort that they have to do to keep up with the game, since they probably can't even read it anyway. Like they have to follow translations. I considered it when they first announced it, but I was just getting into the fan base. So in my mind, me playing the game in Japanese felt really ambitious. It felt overly ambitious. It's like, nah man, I'm way too deep in. I'll just wait for when it comes out in America. And I did. But between Beast Lair and Reddit, those guys do a really good job at keeping the community updated and keeping translations on deck. You wouldn't even notice, but there's still a huge barrier to entry because if you don't know Japanese, there's a lot to go around. And even if you do know it and you're from here, which is America, it's probably your second language. So there's still a gap, which really just goes to show how big of a fan that they are. In 2015, 8% of the population signed up. 2016, 11% signed up. 2017, 21% signed up. 2018, 13%. 19 was 10%. 2020, and these are the super late bloomers, 8%. 2021, 6%. 2022, 5%. And then for 2023, there's that 1% that's just struggling. I know this is kind of off because I started on NA. For me, and my video is still up, it's the I finally started Grand Order video. Hilarious. I started the next year over after the game started. So I started right when the Shiki event was about to end for the first time. And I remember the tower format and just thinking how cool it was. And I was like, man, there was no way I would actually make it through that and get Shiki. I'm devastated. So I had to wait all that time from when I first started to finally get my first copy of Shiki Ryogi, which I did when she came back the second time around. But I started in 2018. For the main story progress, and this is the main chapters that people have cleared, you have 73% have cleared the most recent one, which is Ordeal Call Paper Moon. So that's really good. It shows that everybody is keeping keeping up to date, like I was saying earlier, at least the overwhelming majority. You have 4% of people that's still in the ordeal called prologue. Again, not bad. You're right there. All you got to do is devote a session and you'll catch right back up. You have 6% up to Lost Belt 7, 5% that's up to Trom, 3% that's up to LB6 Avalon. You got 1% up to Hayon, 0.7%. So this is where we get to the guys that just gave up. Because let's be honest, they're not going to catch back up. They're not going to catch back up until it matters. Somebody has to come out that would interfere with their summoning for them to clear these chapters. I know these type of guys. LB5 Olympus is at 0.7%. LB5 Atlantis 0.6%. LB4 is also at 0.6. Lost Belt 3 is at 0.5. Lost Belt 2 is at 0.3. Anastasia, who's still at Anastasia? Anyway, Lost Belt 1 is 0.3. So you have up to the end of part 1.5, there's 1%. So these guys have just barely beat the Solomon chapter. Crazy. And then you have the last guys, 1.2%, who haven't even cleared the first part of the story. Now I got a bone to pick with these guys. If you're still in part 1, I'm gonna be completely honest, you need your ass whooped. And no, I'm not talking to the guy that just started yesterday. It's like, oh, Saya, I just started, like, give me a break. I'm not talking to you, obviously. I'm talking to the dude that's been on here for years and has just had his characters sitting and depressed and not taking care of them, and they're still somehow in part 1. You need to get dog walked. Now for the next one, and this is probably one that you guys are most interested in, at least one of them, the 10 most popular main story chapters. And would you look at this, part 2 Lost Belt 6 Avalon coming in first place, blowing everything else out the water with 3,100 votes. So essentially 33% of everybody that voted is saying that LB6 is the best chapter by far. That's wild to consider that we've already passed LB6 and we've gotten LB7 and Ordeal Call, and they're still saying that LB6 is better. But it's not ridiculous when you consider the amount of effort that was put into that chapter in comparison to a lot of others. I still kind of doubt that other chapters would meet that level of quality if they did get that treatment. Far as I know, I haven't played LB7 yet. LB7 should have had a lot of heart into it, but a lot of people said that the chapter was 50-50, so I don't know. You got ORT and Tez and Kamazats and Kukulkan, the mystery behind David that people have been wanting to know for forever, still couldn't beat LB6. But LB6 is a masterful piece of work. Let's be completely honest. Let's not get it confused. I mean, from front to back, you can tell just by the way people are talking about it now. They're going to be talking about LB6 for years to come. Such a phenomenal chapter. You got LB7 with 1,100, LB5 Atlantis with 800, Babylonia with 800, almost beat out LB5. You got Camelot with 300. There's a significant drop there. That's about half. You got the Solomon chapter with 300, Hayon with 200, Shinjuku with 200, Shimosa with nearly 200, and then Trom with also nearly 200. For the next poll, this is the chapters that players want to see an anime of next. Again, LB6 blows literally everything else out of the water. So we got LB6 with 3,100 votes, Atlantis with 900. Honestly, I wouldn't have separated Atlantis and Olympus just because I think that whole chapter as a collective is just really good. It's just a really good chapter. Shimosa surprisingly almost beat LB5. That's something that I didn't expect to see, especially considering the amount of people I've seen complain about Shimosa. So it's nice to see that Musashi is getting that love, especially with the rise of Fate Samurai Remnant. We might actually get something out of that. So those are the top 3 that people want to see the anime for: LB6, LB5 Atlantis, and Shimosa. People want to see Shimosa more than LB7? Huh? You want to see Shimosa more than the end of part 2? Nah, I gotta disagree with that. That's crazy. That's crazy. This is the reason why we started at the end the first time. You know how we got Babylonia first for an anime and then we went backwards and did Camelot? Now there's nothing wrong with that because the quality falls off a cliff by comparison when you get to the first chapters of the game. You just can't compare them. There's obviously a huge jump. But to say you want to see Shimosa more than LB6 7. That's kind of wicked, I ain't gonna lie. But hey man, that's what you guys say, so it is what it is. Next, we got the 10 most popular events that you guys are saying that you really enjoyed. So Lilum Harlot, that of course is the Beast event. That's Draco. You remember they hit the button. This doesn't surprise me at all. We've actually been through this chapter on the channel. Since it was this arcade collab, it had nothing to do with what was going on in the story, so it didn't affect me at all spoiler wise. So I really enjoyed that, and I thought it was really good. I got a whole video up on that. It's an hour long if you ever get bored. It really brightened me up to Nero, because before it I couldn't stand it, so that's great. Seraph with nearly 1,000. Seraph is an excellent chapter, but Fate Extra CCC is an excellent story, so it makes sense that the collab would be good too. That's pretty much a given. Next, we have a significant drop, that being the latest Gouda Gouda event with 500. Servant Summer Festival also had 500. Caldea Thriller Night had 350. Gouda Gouda Shin Yamatai had 340. The CBC event had nearly 300. The 2020 Gouda Gouda had around 270. For 9th place, you have the Sea Monster Crisis, and then for the last event, you have Aeon Spring Breeze. Yo, Gouda has the list by the chokehold, really. But Gouda has always been a good event, and Summer is the same way. It's just one of those things that you're expected and you're excited to see what turn they're gonna take, because they're never the same. They always have the same premise, but you can expect some weird things to go down, and it's overall just always a good time. So good for that event. I hope they find a way to keep that going. We have the top 10 5-star servants that players want. Here we go. For number 1, you have Scotty Ruler. I'm actually surprised that people want Scotty that bad over how many people it could be. Taz is in 2nd place. Draco is in 3rd place. Makes sense. Oberon at 4th place. Archetype Earth at 5th place. I can definitely see both of those. Morgan at 6th place. Doman at 7th. People want Doman? I mean, I want Doman, but I didn't think people cared for Doman like that, to be honest with you. You know, it's rare for males to get proper love, just considering, you know, their way they're treated. Hell, they're lucky to even be male, considering the way that things go down in FGO. Lucky they didn't get gender bent. Durga, definitely can see that. We just covered Durga not too long ago. Great background on the mythical side. Again, I haven't played Ordeal, so I can't speak to her character, but from what I've seen, definitely a worthy grab. Melusine, again, worthy grab, that's a given. She's in 9th place. And then Muramasa, just straggling along in the 10th spot, but still one of the most top wanted 5-star servants with nearly 200. I can see that. He's a Shiro face. Shiro faces sales, so I want Miyu versus Shiro. We need a Prisma Ilya collab. Next, we have the predictions of what people think the next swimsuit servant will be. By the way, this was taken before they started to actually announce the swimsuit servants, so they didn't know at the time. Number 1, in 1st place, we got Oberon. People really want to see him with a swimsuit. I'm not gonna lie, Oberon is not one of the first people that came to mind for me. I'm not against it. I just don't know how that would go. Like, what would Oberon even be wearing? Because I've seen the summer versions of Gawain, Tristan, and Lancelot, and they're not that great, except Tristan. I really rock with Tristan's, and that's mostly because he has the curse on his chest. I think that's really unique, and I also like his shirt, but beyond that, they're pretty standard. But Oberon is a different being entirely. There's a lot that you can do with him for his summer version. Muramasa, people really want a summer Muramasa. Basically, they just want a summer Shiro. Nothing surprising here. He's in 2nd place. Kukulin Lancer. You know what? This is absolutely right. We are long overdue for giving this man his Hawaiian shirt. Get this man his Hollow Ataraxia outfit. And he's not the only one, but he definitely should have had his summer fit a long time ago. Stop treating my dog this way. For the 4th one, Hajime. People want Hajime as a summer servant? I mean, again, I'm not against it. It's just I'm surprised Hajime even comes to mind, but he is one of the newer servants, so I guess I could see that. That would actually be so fire, because it's like everybody's just having a good time and he's just being a ninja. But but in a different variation from his first form. We got Taigong coming in at 5th place, Charlemagne coming in at 6th. I can see that. I know a lot of people love Charlemagne, especially with things like Fate Extella. You got Enkidu. Again, that's not one that would have came to mind, but I'm down for it. You know, Enkidu would be interesting. It reminds me a lot of the outfits on the CEs. Many of those need to be in the game. I've seen better fits on CEs than the actual game itself. It's crazy. We got Nemo at 8th place. We got Prototype Arthur actually tied with Nemo for 8th place. That's surprising. I would have definitely expected Arthur to be higher, but with his story not being pushed out as much, I can kind of see. No, actually, I can't see the discrepancy. Arthur should still be higher. And then Tez is in last place with around 160, and that will be all the male servants that they want swimsuits for. For the female servants, we got Morgan at the top, again long way from 2nd place with 1600 votes. I've heard this one a lot. You got what you wish for. As of this officially coming out, Morgan did get her swimsuit, so be satisfied. And you know what's crazy? I see people still complaining. Oh, this anniversary is just Saberface wanking. And you know what we say to those people? Your tears taste delicious. I'm an Arturia stan, so I can't lose with what they put out. But good luck to you guys in the near future. 2nd place, we got Areshka Gall. She hit a K. Definitely needs a swimsuit. I thought she would have been had one by now, but they're definitely taking their time with it. Ren in general, I seen a bunch of memes how Ren has been getting left in the dust in terms of attention. Man, even Nito Chris just got an altar. They brought Nito Chris back from the dead. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. They gave Nito Chris an altar, and the Ren faces are currently struggling right now. Castoria, again, that kind of just goes back to what I was saying with the first. We got what we wanted. There's nothing else to say. She was on the list. They were both top 3, so they really took that into consideration. And it makes sense too. Not to say that you can't release random servants together, because they have done it before, but in terms of theme, and especially with the hype of LB6, it was just a smart move. In 4th place, we got Van Gogh. People want Van Gogh as a summer servant? That's a shocker. I'm gonna be completely honest, I couldn't care less. I think they just like Van Gogh, like the actual Van Gogh. That's probably what it is. For 5th place, Melusine. I can see that, and I would actually love to see that. All the Fairy Knights need summer fits, 100%. Yo, imagine Barguest Summer. The death by Snoo Snoo is crazy. I mean, one of her regular Ascensions is practically a summer fit by itself. So for 6th place, we got Fairy Knight Tristan. Again, definitely can see that. For 7th, we got Cream Hill. That's surprising. I would love to see Cream Hill get her own summer fit. Archetype Earth is in 8th place. Barguest, as we mentioned before, she's in 9th place. And then Yang Guifei is in last. She's in 10th place. Yang Guifei is just a great looking servant. It doesn't matter what she's in. So while I am a bit surprised that she beat some other people out, I'm not surprised that she made it on the list. Here's another one that people are probably really interested in. And these are servants that you want to see turn into an altar by Kamazaz. A lot of people want to see Prototype Arthur in his altar form. I can see that. We got to get Arthur's original story out there first. Baby steps. That's why I'm glad they released the manga. So that's in the works, but I would love to see that as well. Karna altar. Many people want to see Karna being altered. Another really choice pick, especially considering how nice and stoic Karna is. It would just be interesting to see all together. People want to see Gil altered. So basically they just want to see Gil. What would Gil alter even be? Because Gil tells you how it is. So it's not like his personality is gonna stem too greatly. I think they more so want to see how he's gonna look. You could say that we kind of got a taste of what that might be with Nebuchadnezzar, but even that is like a reach considering that was just him and Gil's body. It's really hard to say. There's a lot that they could do with him. For 4th place, people want to see Doman as an altar. So after all this time of the clown harassing us, people want to see him even more. I love Doman, so I'm here for it. The 5th altar people want to see is Enkidu. Again, I can see that alongside Gil. Maybe they even do that in the same event. That would be interesting. Marie Antoinette. Would you just release her as an altar already? Just for the sake of people to stop asking about Marie altar. Please release her. And I want to see more Marie. I'm just tired of people beating the dead horse. Hajime altar. People want to see Hajime altar. I could do without that one. honestly. I could do without that one. In 8th place, we got Boudica. They want to see her alter form. Boudica did have an alter form that got scrapped if you've been through her materials, so I definitely want to still see that and how they would implement that into the story. She definitely deserves it, and she hasn't been around on a serious level in quite some time. She needs it. Archetype Earth alter. This might be one of the most interesting ones on the list. I'm not gonna lie, most of these are interesting. I'm not gonna say that. Most of these are really interesting, but I would have never thought of Archetype Earth being an alter. That's probably bad news for everybody, but who wouldn't want my girl Arc to be an alter? Let's be honest. And lastly, Amakusa Shiro. He's in 10th place, and many people want him to be turned into an alter. So we get a little Apocrypha Part 2. I'm down for that, as long as you don't bring Sig with it. If you bring Sig with Amakusa Shiro alter, keep the whole event. Next up, and this is another really good one, top 10 Type Moon characters that players want to see implemented in FGO. So in 1st place, we got my girl CL, above everybody on the list. Now, I gotta be honest, I'm happy that everybody wants to see her in the game, but at the same time, I do feel a little jaded by all the people hopping on the CL bandwagon now that the remake is released, because I remember, and the people from back then, they know what I'm talking about. When the first Tsukihime came out, dudes was not hyping CL like this. Now that she's getting the proper credit that she deserves, everybody's a CL fan all of a sudden. But it's cool though, that's just the way it go. People are tribal, they hop on waves. I just know they used to treat her like Sakura, and you would get laughed out the room if you said CL was your favorite. Absolutely deserves it, and I'm glad Nasu gave her the role that he did in the remake, and I hope he continues to bring everybody up, because she's not the only one. Everybody was accentuated. It wasn't just her. In 2nd place, you got Aoko Awazaki from Witch on the Holy Night. We need that. Please. We definitely need Shiki Tono. I need that Nania in my life. Are you kidding me? 4th place is Toko Awazaki. You know you can't have Aoko without bringing Toko. Come on, man. Prototype Gilgamesh. Also a fire concept. We've done some digging on him, and there's a lot of interesting changes that have been made between him and his former counterpart. Monica Sajo from Fate Prototype. I would love to see her. Richard the Lionheart from Strange Fate. You best believe it. Archimedes from Fate Extella. Again, great antagonist. We need that too. It would also serve for a really good Fate Extella collab. And then there's Hakuno in 10th place, which, as you can already see, they did in fact implement Hakuno into the Harlot event. So we do already have that, but I would love to see them continue that and bring Hakuno back. Then we got the top 5 most popular FGO NPCs. At number 1, we got Kamazats with 1,000 votes. That actually says a lot, because Kamazats just came out. So that means that Kamazats literally sweets as an NPC, because everybody else on this list has been out. And again, there's a significant drop. You got Agravain with 283 votes in 2nd place. You got Gordolf just barely losing to Agravain in 3rd place. You got Roman, of course, the GOAT himself. He's in 4th place. And then you have Takechi Suizan in 5th place. Solid list, no doubt. Top 10 servants for grinding. We got Morgan in 1st place. We got Castoria in 2nd place. Then we have a small drop. Arjuna Alter in 3rd place. You got Ibuki Doji in 4th place. Archetype Earth in 5th place. Domin in 6th place. Oberon in 7th. Tez in 8th. Arash in 9th. And Koyanskaya at 10th. And I'm noticing that I'm seeing a lot of the same servants. I feel like when I see things like that, it's more of a how relative that servant is right now. That's one thing about people, man. Their favorite servant is their favorite as long as they're relative. And then the moment they're not hype anymore, they got a new favorite servant all over again. I would like to see how this list goes in a year or two, since everybody claims that they don't do it for efficiency and they do it for the love anyway, yet they love hopping to different servants. So much for being consistent, right? Next, we got top 10 servants for high difficulty quests. Another interesting question. We got Castoria at the top blew everybody else out the water, which isn't surprising at all. She's one of the best units in the game. And then there's a huge drop by 1900 votes all the way down to second. In second place, you got Oberon. Third place, you got Morgan. Fourth place, you got Draco. Fifth place is Arjuna Alter. Sixth place is Van Gogh. Seventh place is Merlin. Eighth place is Enkidu. Ninth place is Herc. That God hand action. I get it. And then 10th place is Monanon, or as you know, Bazette. For what it is, this list makes a lot of sense. It's outrageous how much of a huge drop there is between Castoria and everybody else, but it just goes to show how hard she's carrying the game right now. Then we have the servants that players got with pilgrimage leaves. 33% says that they already had them all. 21% said that they used them for Oda Nobunaga. 12% used them for Kentoki. 5% used theirs for Jalter. 4% used theirs for Mysterious Idol X Alter. 4% used theirs for Skyhawk. All of these units are great, by the way. You can't really go wrong. 3% used theirs for Hokusai. 2% used theirs for Kets. 2% used theirs for Shuten Doji. 1% used theirs for Elizabeth Halloween. And 1% used theirs for Elizabeth in her brave form. So no love for the lesbian army, unfortunately. And then 6% didn't use theirs at all. You have the first unlocked class scores. 39% say that they didn't unlock any. 27% unlock with Berserker. 9% unlock with Saber. 5% unlock with Archer. 4% unlock with Assassin. 4% unlock with Extra Servants. 3% unlock with Lancer. You would have thought Kukulin alone would have brought this up to the top. 3% unlock with Caster. And then 2% unlock with Rider. Going right over, we have what players want after the end of part 2. Now I thought the rest of this was interesting. Now I saw a bit of this and I thought some of these answers were wild. Half of the people playing want to start part 3. 16% want the game to come to an end altogether. 14% want a new protagonist. 9% want a completely new Fate RPG. So they want to keep it FGOS, they just want a new game. And then 9% just didn't answer. And there's a few anonymous comments to go with these answers. I don't want it into a medium which constantly provides new Fate content. I still want to see characters I like in events and swimsuits. So I hope it goes on for another decade. This is a female in her 20s. Absolutely. And that was my thing. That was something that I was going to get to when they were talking about the game ending. People talk a lot about FGO. They talk and they talk and they talk. But the reality of the matter is FGO, I'm not going to say is keeping the community alive, because the community definitely was fine without it, but it's certainly making the community thrive. Like Fate has never thrived as much as it's thriving right now. And I mean throughout the totality of the game. It's never thrived as much as it's thrived now. All of this exposure. You got people that don't even care about the game writing articles about it. It's one of those things that even if you don't like it, you can't avoid it. It's everywhere. I feel bad for the people who don't like it. It's a beautiful thing and it really gives life to everything else in the Type Moon franchise. Again, all the money that's being poured into the game just helps fund everything else. You think these things are getting reboots by themselves? Things like Tsukihime Remake would have happened without the help and the efficiency of FGO? Are you insane? So I love the fact that all the wealth that's being put into the game is spread out over the community. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of effort, and a lot of people don't know that or realize it because they're just playing. That's the consumer brain. They only think about consuming. There's a lot that goes into this. There's so many people to get paid, and I'm forever grateful. They just don't know how much it means, and we don't want to see it end. And I'll go more into that in a minute. I only just started in June 2022, so it'd be sad to see it end so soon for me. This is a female in her 30s. Another great point. Everybody didn't start the game when you started. You may be a diehard that started back in 2015. That's cool, but what about the person that's just walking through the door? You're gonna rob them of that experience just because they found out about it late? Maybe they genuinely didn't know about it. Now, they did miss a lot, but that's where the community comes in. If they really care, there is a plethora of information all over the place where they can go back and find the story. A lot of great new characters and interesting new things only started in part 2, so I'd love to see a part 3. The cryptors were something that were rooted in part 1. We just didn't explore them until part 2, but that in and of itself was a very interesting concept. The Lost Belts. were great. The mystery behind Olga, the fairies, the aliens, and we're still exploring stuff now. That's why I never take a person serious when they say FGO overall has bad writing. I know you don't know what you're talking about. Now, you can look at the worst parts of FGO and say that it's not that good, but you can do that with anything, clearly. But to say overall that FGO doesn't have its moments, you're goofy. I can't bear to see it end before Hanzine is implemented. This is a female in her 30s. I want to see it keep going. I like the story, including the main character. So if they change, I'll quit. This is a female in her 20s, and this is hitting at the answer of a new protagonist. I can't even believe they considered the idea. I don't think anybody wants that. From what I understand, everybody is theorizing what they're gonna do with the protagonist that we have now in part 3. That's what I see most people are on. It only makes sense if they at least entertain the idea. Would I quit because of that reason? I'm not so obsessed to quit over one character. I never got that. But don't say you like Fate and then quit over one character. They keep adding stuff that Type Moon had left hanging for so long, like ORT. So I wanted to go on till we see everything from inside Nasu's head. Another female in her 20s. Exactly. How long has ORT been cooking? People say that they want notes. Do you really want notes? How are we gonna get notes if the game ends? Because I doubt he's gonna make it from scratch. You know how hard the foundation was to set this up? This is 8 years in the making. This is 8 years in the making, and we're just now getting to part 3. So of course we wanted to keep going. Stop the nonsense. This is the other side that want FGO with the new protagonist. If it goes on, I want a new protagonist. Let the current one go home already. Female in her 20s. You guys already know I made my video on this. I'm not gonna drive it more than I already have. I have no problems with Ritsuka or Mash. I've seen a lot of people say that they hate them both. I see a lot of people say that they have no development. They have no character. I don't know where they've been for the past 8 years. I guess they just look at what they want to. I guess you only can have character if you're like Nero and you're just jumping down everybody's throat and you're overly charismatic, but they definitely do have character. They definitely do have meaning, and they definitely do have reason for being in the story. Now, I'll tell you what I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind going through an event with another main character as the lead. Maybe Ritsuka gets kidnapped and we have Alko lead because she is an actual main character, or we have Hakuno lead because they kind of already set that up, or Shiro, or any main character for that matter. I wouldn't mind seeing an event that pulls all the main characters together. I keep seeing people want me to make a video. How about you make a Holy Grail War with every main character? How about Type Moon makes an event with every main character, and let's see their interactions and how they feel about each other, and then we'll really see who's good or not. Let's put them all in at once and see whose character shines through the most, and give them all a fair share of lines. Don't make it like LB6 where this person has 20,000 lines and then the other person has 100. Make it all equal. Once part 2 ends, I feel like the current master will have done all they could, but I still want to do more FGO, so something new would be nice. This is a female in her teens. Plenty of more to do with their characters. What they've done with their characters so far is just scratching the surface. All the people that have been vanquished in the journey to them getting there, how about the character answering to that? Because it's something that often doesn't get discussed. I remember that conversation between Mandricardo and Ritsuka in LB5, and he kept asking them, are you really okay with all the things that you've done? Because that would weigh heavy on anybody, and that's just one idea. There's plenty to do. I want to see the possibilities a new protagonist would bring. Or you could have David as the protagonist. David? I'm not gonna say anything because LB7 isn't out in the US, but I can't imagine even after going through it that I would want David as the protagonist. Out of all people, you say David? I guess. I'd like to see characters of FGO appear as characters from the previous game. So this goes on the idea that we have a new protagonist and we kind of mesh with the ideas that we went through before, but from a different perspective. That kind of goes into the idea that I was saying earlier. At the same time, if you want a new protagonist just to meet the old characters again, then just keep using the old characters. Like, that doesn't even make sense. I like to see a completely new story with the same system. I mean, yeah, that would just be part 3. A lot of what makes FGO work is that everything is getting wiped and reset in each grand storyline. So it's like you got Solomon, the world gets wiped. You got the alien guy, the world gets wiped. Part 3 will probably be similar. It will more than likely be apocalyptic, and I've said this before, especially with the introduction of weapons like the Black Barrel, we still gotta uncover the 7 super weapons of Atlas. There's so much mystery here that needs to get discussed, and people want it to end. Are you ludicrous? This is the perfect time to drop notes and have the types invade the world, and then we'll really have a fight that we've never seen before. People thought ORT was bad. Bring in Gun God. Come on, man. Having a new story with the same system would just be part 3, and then have them meet up with the current protagonist at the end of part 2. That's a male in his 20s. I mean, the idea of the characters meeting up, I mean, that's fine. I'm more focused on the story itself. I'm more focused on the direction of where they're gonna take these characters that we've already built. I wouldn't mind seeing our own version of Cryptors, where maybe we get more main protagonists. Like maybe sometimes Ritsuka swaps out on the job and we get somebody else. But equally, don't make anybody more important than anybody else. More so like the A-Team or a team element altogether or something. For the people that wanted a completely new Fate RPG, I want to see servants from FGO as main characters in other games like Samurai Remnant. Absolutely. And I want to see characters stop using the same characters over and over again. And I know the issue and why they do it. Well, if we don't use the favorites, then it's not gonna sell. But man, it would be so great to see us explore all of these great characters that never get the light of day because the fan favorites keep beating them out in everything that they do. Characters that just get thrown to the waste because we have to have Emiya version 16, Gilgamesh version 25, Saberface 26. Like, come on, bro. 300 characters in the game, dog. Let somebody else get some shine. It's getting old. And this is coming from a person that likes all 3 of the servants that I just mentioned. I like to travel an open world with my servants. That sounds great. If they got time to make a game where we can do free roam on the level of a Destiny or on the level of an actual MMO RPG, maybe give it that element. I would love a game where people could make their own servant and then interact with each other, maybe go on battles with each other where we're all fighting Phantasmal Beast or whatever. But the likelihood of them running that at the same time, it's fickle. I like to see a completely new RPG with the caveat that they also release an app that lets you read all the text in FGO. So I'm seeing that she wants more optimal translation. That's fine. They can just hire more translators. But at the same time, I'm sure Nasu only trusts a certain amount of people with his work. There's translators out there. There's people that's done his work for free, have been and continue to do so. But it's really a matter of if he trusts you with his work or not. That's how that goes. I want to see a real Grail War with servants from FGO. There definitely could be a Grail War with servants from FGO. That could have been Samurai Remnant, but instead they give us the same characters over again. At least most of the rogue servants were old characters. That's up to them. I would love to see it. There's so much opportunity in doing so. It just takes a lot of time and effort. I want a game where you can fight through a real Grail War like in the Extra series. So he wants a modern day Extra. I mean, they're remaking Extra. They could just give Extra DLC or give Extra Record DLC where it's kind of like an FGO collab, intervening with the elements of the Moon Cell. So it's not like, oh, it's gonna break the story. The Moon Cell does what it wants. Let's be honest. I want a complete console game that stands out on its own. To be honest, the 2 genres that would stand above all as a Fate game is undoubtedly an RPG or a fighting game. I've seen a lot of people asking for a Fate fighting game for a long time. Maybe with the same elements as Melty Blood, and it's made a lot like Melty Blood, but it's not the exact same thing. And then they started incorporating Fate characters into Melty Blood. But I don't think that really silences the idea of a Fate fighting game existing. Maybe polish up unlimited codes, bring that back around, or start something from scratch altogether. I'd be fine with FGO 2 or Part 3, but I still want a completely new game in addition to that. Okay, so this dude just wants it all. I think pretty much everybody's down with whatever they go with. It's just a matter of personal preference at a point. They're patching up FGO to keep running is starting to reach its limit. A male in his 40s. Damn, brother, you're in your 40s? Hey man, sound like you starting to reach your limit too, nigga. Yeah man, you know, ironic statements are ironic. Like I said, I'm just gonna let Type Moon keep doing them. They've been doing an incredible job. In totality, they They've had a lot of things to handle. You just gotta think how repetitive FGO is, and it still has dominated the charts throughout the 8 years that it's been out. Just imagine if it was getting proper changes and updates like it could be. I got nothing bad to say about it, but that speaks more to the community than it does the engine, I would say. I want a console game that uses the FGO protagonist that lets you go on different routes for different servants, light, extra, and CCC. Same notion as the one that I had before of bringing in other characters and letting them play the lead role while Ritsuka just plays the back seat or something like that. I find it hard to recommend the game to people with the current system. I feel like on the contrary, mobile over the years has been increasingly dominating the charts among everything else, and not just in games but in media in general. If I'm not mistaken, 60% of the people that's on YouTube or something like that do it for mobile. Like, everybody's on mobile. It's nothing to just hook your phone up to the computer if you just have to play it on something else. I don't think that's an issue. And if you can't afford a computer, then you just have bigger problems. You need to go hustle and get some money. You need to be worried about other things instead of games. I want to see what a new Fate made by the people who worked on FGO will look like. I definitely don't want to see that. Like I just said before, FGO has been running on the same redundant system for several years. I do not want to see them bring that to another game. I don't want to see that at all. I do want to see them bring in people from other teams though, on the other hand. And then wrapping things up, what players are looking forward to in FGO. I want an ending that makes you feel glad that you played the game. Female in her 40s. 100%. I think we all want that. I think we all want a fulfilling conclusion. I'm not gonna say I don't want any loose ends, but I want most of the loose ends taken care of because there are a lot of them, and I want a happy resolve because they've been through a lot. And that's coming from me, the person that enjoys the character losing and the misery and the trauma. I just think that it makes for a great development of a story, and it usually does. And that's me saying that I want them to have a happy resolve, so that's saying a lot. I want another collaboration with Manga de Wakaru. What is this, VTubers? Oh no, they can keep that. I ain't gonna lie. That's weird. All that VTuber nonsense is weird to me. They can keep that. I want a mode where you can replay from the beginning of part 1 with the enemies made stronger. Just replay part 1 and handicap yourself. You can do this right now. Movies or a TV special for 1.5. Female in her 30s. Yeah, we need that. Shinjuku, Salem, Shimosa. We would love adaptations for all of those. Collaborations with Strange Fate and Samurai Remnant is a must. Bro, we need part 3 just to make that happen. We've been in need of a Strange Fate collab for so long, and Strange Fate is still going. This man is gonna write 16 volumes before we finally get one character in the game. Improve UI and playability. Absolutely. If they do go with the idea of rebooting FGO, they seriously need to think about what they do with the mechanics, because although a lot of people are just jumping on the train, you got a lot of people like me, for example, have been playing from the jump and they're kind of burnt out and want to see something new. It don't gotta be nothing crazy. It don't gotta be over the top of the world. Just something that isn't the same thing over and over again. You know, they do what they can with the system they have in place, but I really believe that just in terms of game design, in order for them to reformat a lot of what they have in place, they would have to start from scratch, and they just don't have time to do that. I get it. Cat-Out Swimsuit or CE or both. Get this girl her cat out, man. She went as far as going into the polls with it. She deserves it. Forget a 10th anniversary, aim for a 20th anniversary. We're down to ride till the wheels fall off. That's just the way that we roll. The ability to do a friend point gotcha 100 times at a go, and an anime with the female protagonist. Maybe you're insecure and want to feel empowered. I get it. Cryptors as servants, female in her 30s, 100%. Anybody that's been in the game as a servant that hasn't been a servant already would be interesting, no doubt. And then the comments about the 8th anniversary. I want them to keep doing what they think is interesting, right? But keep taking the community into mind, and you can definitely tell that they have been. A 10th anniversary is starting to look more realistic, so extend it to the 15th. I think we can make it far. I think if they bring in another team and keep pushing with what they have, we can make something work. It does not have to come to a close. I was in high school when I started FGO in 2015. Wow. And now I'm working. 8 years is a pretty long time. Congratulations. And she's just excited to see their success. And I feel like that's where most people should be. But there's a select portion that are so greedy that they can only think about what's in it for them, when ironically they're probably not even contributing to the game that much. Like, the main people that should be complaining is the guy that's wailing on every banner because he's buying the game. Nah, it be the dude that's free to play for life complaining. Come on, bro, get real. And then last, being able to read text written by Nasu on a regular basis has made me very happy this past 8 years. I hope the game goes on for a very long time. Absolutely, man. We love the mushroom man. You can say what you want about him, but the guy puts in work. He extends his reach to the community. Man, this dude is grabbing people off of Twitter, artists, authors. He's took it further than anybody would have ever thought. If you've seen my Origin of Type Moon story, what we're seeing right now is borderline unbelievable. The empire that Nasu has built without even showing his face. How many people can do that? Bravo indeed.